Hello everyone, I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to my channel. This is the first video in a new series that I'll return to now and then, depending on how popular it is. Those top 10 lists are everywhere on the internet these days, usually as clickbait, but they're popular nonetheless, so I thought it would be fun to use the format to explore some deeper connections superheroes have to our culture. Since Wonder Woman is in the spotlight right now, most are aware that her character was created to step straight out of Greek mythology, with all of its gods and monsters. But all superheroes of our Western culture owe a debt to Greek mythology. Ancient Greece is the seat of Western civilization, after all. Superheroes that grab our culture's attention hail from archetypes that have shown up elsewhere throughout our history, and any superhero can be traced back ultimately to a counterpart in Greek mythology. In this video, we'll start with 10 superheroes and their counterparts. Bear in mind, though, that some can be mixed and matched. Characters are manifested symbols of archetypes, and those symbols can overlay each other. Often a superhero, for example, will be a compilation of different gods, goddesses, or heroes. For this list, though, I'm sticking to single connections. I've also avoided heroes who step straight into comic books from mythology, like Wonder Woman or Marvel's Hercules. Finally, this list is by no means extensive, so think about the connections you might add and let me know in the comments. Number 1. Superman to Heracles. Both Superman and Heracles, or Hercules as he's known in Rome, are children hailing from the sky, one from Krypton and one from Olympus. Both exhibit extraordinary strength and endurance as a result of their otherworldly origin. And they also both use that strength to aid mankind. In the Injustice Gods Among Us comics and video games, an alternate universe Superman even lives out one of Heracles' most infamous storylines. Just as the goddess Hera drove Heracles mad, causing him to murder his wife and children, the Joker warps Superman's mind to cause him to kill Lois, who was pregnant with their child. He murders the Joker and becomes a dictator in the aftermath. Heracles took on his famed 12 labors to make amends for his deeds, and in Injustice it is a Superman from an alternate dimension who ensures his power-mad doppelganger pays for his crimes. Number 2. From Batman to Theseus. Though a demigod and the son of Poseidon, Theseus lacks the great strength of his cousin Heracles, and was small in stature even for a mortal. He takes frequent advantage then of pankration, the fighting discipline he develops, which includes chokeholds and throwing and tumbling enemies. Batman too uses martial arts and his trained reflexes in lieu of any superpowers. And just like Batman, the world's greatest detective, Theseus is known for his cleverness and heroism. For years, the kingdom of Athens was forced to send groups of their young as tribute to King Minos, who then fed them to the Minotaur in his labyrinth. To save the young Athenians, Theseus volunteers to go as tribute. Once in the labyrinth, he ties a string to the entrance and unwinds it as he travels inside. He faces off with the Minotaur much like Batman faces off with Killer Croc in the Gotham sewer system. Number 3. Flash to Hermes. The surface connection between Flash and Hermes, messenger of the gods, is obvious. Fleet-footed Hermes wears special sandals enabling him to travel quickly through the heavens between Olympus and Earth, and the Flash is the fastest man alive. The Golden Age Flash, Jay Garrick, even wears a bowl-shaped helmet like Hermes, with wings on the sides. But Hermes was also the patron of thieves and crossroads, an unknown trickster. As the mythology of Flash progressed from Jay Garrick to Barry Allen and finally to Wally West, the Scarlet Speedster became more of a trickster himself. The original Wally West is often the comic relief in Teen Titans and the Justice League. Number 4. From Iron Man to Hephaestus. Hephaestus was the blacksmith of the gods, forging weapons and armor for the Olympians. Tony Stark begins his journey as a weapons manufacturer and often makes armor and gadgets for other heroes in the Marvel Universe. Though he's technically an engineer, his origin story often features him striking a blacksmith pose while working on his first suit in a cave. Hephaestus was deformed and limp among the immaculate Olympians. And while Tony Stark isn't deformed in looks, the shrapnel near his heart requires an arc reactor implanted in his chest, giving him a visual weakness that none of the other Avengers have. Luckily, he's figured out how to draw strength from it and power his suit, just as Hephaestus made the most of his exile from Olympus due to his appearance and learned his great craft of blacksmithing on the island of Lemnos. Number 5. From Captain America to Achilles. Most comic fans know that Steve Rogers was born with no physical abilities or powers. His courage and strength of character caused him to be chosen for the Super Soldier program. Once the serum entered his body, he became the ultimate soldier and champion of his country in World War II. He was defeated for a time only when trying to save others, Bucky or other innocents depending on the version, and was frozen for decades. Caring for others is his weakness, his Achilles heel. Achilles himself was born with no special powers. He wasn't even immortal, despite being born a demigod. His mother, the sea nymph, dipped him into the river Styx, making his body immortal except for his heel, where his mother held him. After that experience with the river Styx, his own super soldier serum, he becomes the champion of the Greek army and wins glory in the Trojan War, only defeated by a wound to his own Achilles heel. Number 6. From Nova to Perseus. The Greek hero Perseus shows up in a number of superheroes, but perhaps most directly in Richard Rider, who becomes Nova, the human rocket. In Greek mythology, Perseus was credited with slaying the Gorgon Medusa, who turned any who gazed upon her into stone. To achieve the task, the gods gave him various weapons: Zeus's sword, Hermes' winged sandals, Athena's polished shield, and Hades' helm of darkness for the power of invisibility. Though many superheroes come into possession of gifts from above, Green Lantern's ring, Adam Strange's rocket pack, and others, Richard Rider receives a Nova Corps helmet that resembles many artistic representations of the helm of Hades. The Nova Corps helmet seeks out teenager Richard Rider as a worthy successor when its previous owner dies. The helmet gives Rider the powers of flight, near invulnerability, and more, and he fights villains equal to any stone-gazing Gorgon. Number 7. The Winter Soldier to Ajax. If Captain America is a type of Achilles, then Bucky Barnes fits the mold of Ajax, the warrior's best friend. Like Ajax with Achilles, Bucky doesn't really have a story without Captain America. Though he eventually lives his own adventures as the Winter Soldier, each narrative returns eventually to Captain Steve Rogers. Mythologies are filled with such right-hand man types, from Jonathan with King David to Samwise with Frodo. Like Bucky as the Winter Soldier, Ajax is a famed warrior in his own right, winning much glory on the Trojan battlefield, dueling an entire day with Prince Hector. When Achilles is killed, though, Ajax expects to receive his armor and to take his place in battle. When the armor goes to Odysseus instead, Ajax begins a violent rampage which ends in his suicide over the matter. Luckily, Bucky isn't driven to the same fate, and takes up Captain America's mantle valiantly when Steve is assassinated after the Civil War event. Number 8. Black Widow to Atlanta. Atlanta was the original woman making her way in a man's world. Since she was born a girl, her father left her in the woods as a baby. A bear finds and adopts her, and she learns the skills of the hunters that frequent the woods, eventually surpassing them. She surprises the world around her, which doesn't expect such skill from a woman. When demigods seek to rape her, a common occurrence in Greek mythology, she kills them instead. She proves superior to the men around her in hunting, wrestling, archery, and is one of the fastest mortals on Earth, outpacing her would-be suitors and fiercely guarding her virginity. Black Widow also grows up from her parents, training in the Soviet Red Room to be an ultimate spy and assassin. Her superiors have her sterilized as the culmination of her training, and like Atlanta, the fact that she'll never be a mother becomes an integral part of her identity. Like the men surrounding Atlanta, Black Widow's foes often underestimate her because she's a woman, and she too uses their underestimation to her advantage. Number 9. From the Submariner and Aquaman to Poseidon. This connection might seem too obvious to state, but it reveals something deeper about both modern-day heroes. The most popular myths, including Poseidon, feature him as a supporting character or a rival. Though people did tell myths about him alone, the focus of ancient Greeks seems to be mainly on appeasing him rather than following his exploits. Pleasing the god of the sea was vital to the fishing and sea trading cultures of the day. With the invention of air travel, our culture no longer depends on seafaring as we once did. So heroes like Submariner or Namor, and Aquaman, who also carry tridents and rule over Atlantis, often become marginalized. Aquaman even more so, as he often lacks Namor's edgy anti-hero quality. But avid Aquaman and Namor fans know that we do well not to underestimate the sea. Covering 71% of the world, water still demands our attention for much transit and trade. And like Poseidon, our sea-dwelling heroes can do far more than simply communicate with marine life. Number 10. From the Justice League and Avengers to Jason and the Argonauts. With the popularity of crossover films and shared cinematic universes, hero team-ups appear everywhere these days. Comic book fans know they have a long history in both Marvel and DC, going back to the Justice Society and the Human Torch versus the Submariner. But they go back even farther than that. The thrill of seeing our heroes meet, fight, and join forces isn't a new phenomenon. In ancient Greek mythology, the Trojan War pitted gods and heroes against each other, but the ultimate Greek League of Avengers is Jason and the Argonauts. Jason was forced to retrieve the fabled Golden Fleece, sometimes in order to save his mother, sometimes to take his rightful place as king, but in any version, he cannot complete the task alone. He acquires the ship the Argo and recruits some of the most popular heroes of Greek mythology to become his Argonauts. Heracles, Theseus, Atalanta, Castor and Pollux, Orpheus, and more joined the team. Most had an individual story about their recruitment as well, just like Bruce Banner or Batman coming to terms with working in a team dynamic. Fans of the JLA, JSA, Avengers, Fantastic Four, and so on know that in team dynamics, each character has a chance to use their unique gifts as the only one who can save the team. Cap leads, Hawkeye calls out patterns in battle, and Ironman flies a nuke through a wormhole. On the Argo, Orpheus drowns out the perilous song of the sirens with his own godly singing voice. Heracles slays the giants who attack them, and Castor and Pollux calm a storm and light the way for the Argo to navigate with stars upon their foreheads. So that's all for this list, but tell me what you think of these connections and any other you might think of. And let me know if you like this format of top 10 lists. We can continue using it to delve into more connections between superheroes and our culture. So until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the superhero stories you love. Thanks for watching.